What's up guys, it's Findon, and this is the Samsung Galaxy Note tier list. We're going to be ranking every single model of the Samsung Galaxy Note series, starting from the Galaxy Note all the way up to the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. But we're not just going to be doing the Galaxy Note series today, that's right, we're also going to be doing some of the budget models that I missed in my last video. Mostly because I was there for 2 hours just doing the base models. We're actually going to be adding these phones on to our previous tier list, the Samsung Galaxy S tier list, which you can watch right now by clicking this card in the top corner. I've actually made a little bit of a change to the tier list since the last video. Here's the old one and here's the new one. I've actually moved the Galaxy S23 Ultra from the A tier all the way up to the S tier. One of the reasons for that is I've recently gotten an S22 Ultra for pretty cheap, and this phone's pretty damn good. So if the S23 Ultra is literally just a better version than this, then yeah, S tier it does belong in. Other than that, the rest of the tier list remains the same, despite your cries and wishes. Which, while we're on that topic, just remember that this tier list is my opinion. If you don't like it, go make your own tier list in the comment section down below. Okay, enough yapping, let's get into the Galaxy Note phones, starting with the Samsung Galaxy Note. That's what it was called. The Samsung Galaxy Note was a pretty revolutionary phone at the time. It was pretty much the biggest smartphone on the market. If it wasn't the biggest smartphone on the market, then it was at least one of the biggest smartphones on the market. And this phone is at least the one that popularized larger phones with the general public. This smartphone was released in 2011 and came in at an absolutely gargantuan 5.3 inches. Now that might seem absolutely tiny by today's standards, but this phone was just absolutely crazy upon its release. It was huge. If you go back to watch some of the reviews of this phone, which I personally did for this video, a lot of people were commenting about the fact that this phone was too big, just huge. It was a phablet. God, I hate that word, thank God it's dead. And that people would never get used to this phone. Well, guess what? Even the smallest phones on the market today are bigger than this thing was. So yeah, big smartphone, absolutely big. It was a big Galaxy S2. But it wasn't just a big Galaxy S2, because it was a Galaxy Note, which meant it had the S Pen. Now, I'm not really sure how much prestige the S Pen had in 2011, considering the fact that we were just getting over smartphones that actually relied on styluses to work, which were a bit crappy. But the Galaxy Note wasn't like that. It was primarily a touch device, but the stylus was mostly for writing and drawing and all sorts of other stuff. They really leaned hard into the Note aspect of it with the early days. Some of the apps they shipped with were very skeuomorphic in that sort of design. And yeah, that's pretty much what it was. Just a big Galaxy S2 that you could draw and write on. There's not too much to say about the Galaxy Note, except for the fact that it basically popularized big smartphones, which honestly makes it age a lot better today than most smartphones did at that time, because you pick up an iPhone 4S and you'll see just how absolutely tiny that thing is. The Galaxy Note is a pretty decently sized smartphone even today. I'm going to be real with you, I don't really know where to place it, but I'm probably going to put it above the Galaxy S2 because it makes sense. It's just a bigger, better Galaxy S2. I'm going to put the Galaxy Note in the bottom of the A tier. I think this is a good spot for it. I don't know. There might be some pros and cons of the phones that I'm missing. Feel free to comment them down below and I'll take that into consideration, possibly, maybe. Next up, we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 2, which is actually a big Galaxy S3. Yeah, you can see how this naming scheme might get a little bit confusing. This was basically just a better Galaxy Note and a big S3 with an S Pen, which is a good thing, because the Galaxy S3 was an amazing smartphone of its day, and this is just a better Galaxy S3. Looking at reviews at the time, they said that this phone was very powerful, very fast, and had a really good battery life because it was so big. They could just fit an absolutely massive battery in there, which, by the way, just remember, you can actually take off the back of this phone because it's plastic, it just pops off, and you can just hot swap batteries in there, so you could just have a bunch of Galaxy Note batteries, which were very impressive and large at the time, swap them out on your phone, and you can basically just have all day battery life, maybe weeks of battery life on end. We certainly don't live in that era anymore. The screen on the Galaxy Note 2 looks absolutely fantastic. The colors are amazing. It doesn't have a pentile matrix, so there's no screen door effect. I own a Galaxy Note 2. It's slightly cracked, but man, using that phone even today, it just feels really good. I think the Galaxy Note 2 is just a really good phone. Where do I put the Galaxy Note 2? Interesting question. I feel like the Galaxy Note 2 could go in S tier because it's just a really, really good phone. It's probably the best of what you could get at the time. Next up, we have the Galaxy Note 3. The Galaxy Note 3 was definitely a smaller upgrade than the Galaxy Note 2 was, but it's still a really good phone. The Note 3, of course, is just a big Galaxy S4, but with an S Pen. Yep, it's basically what the Note series is, but because the numbers are one-off, it can be a little bit confusing, so I'm going to keep reminding you guys until we get to a particular Galaxy Note. The Galaxy Note 3 had this interesting design on the back where it looked like stitched leather, but it wasn't stitched leather, it was plastic. It felt like plastic because it was plastic. It looked cool, but then when you pick it up, it's a little bit disappointing. So, I've never been the biggest fan of that side of Samsung, especially from this era. But everything else on this phone was just absolutely top tier. It went up to a 1080p OLED display, just absolutely beautiful looking. It was the first Galaxy phone to introduce that weird USB 3 micro USB port on the bottom. This one didn't have a cover like the S5 did. Yeah, it was the first one to shoot 4K video, so that's pretty cool. It had a 3200 mAh battery, which is just massive at the time, and it even included an IR blaster, which is nice. It carried over the weird air gestures that the Galaxy S4 had, but you didn't really have to use them, so it was okay. Pretty much Galaxy Note 3, kind of a banger. If you owned this phone back in 2013 when this thing released, you would have been a very, very happy person. Unless I'm missing something, I'm going to put this above the Galaxy Note 2 in the S tier. This is going to be a very common theme with the Galaxy Note phones because they're kind of amazing. Yeah, Galaxy Note 3, S tier. Unless there is something crucial that I'm missing, again, feel free to let me know in the comment section down below. Next up, we have the Samsung Galaxy Note 4. The Samsung Galaxy Note 4 is a big Galaxy S5 with an S Pen. Yep, I'm gonna keep saying it. This is when Samsung finally decided to start moving away from building their phones out of plastic. This is one of the first Samsung phones to have a metal frame on it, and my god, does it ever improve the feel and the durability and just the premiumness of the device. I don't even know if that's a word, but it is now. Now, it wasn't the metal frames like we have today, it was painted, which kind of led it to not age the best, but it still looks cool even with the paint chipping off of it. This was such a massive step up, man. Pretty much all of Samsung's phones up until this point were just all hunks of plastic, so this was a much needed improvement. The back was still made of plastic, but honestly, who cares? Because there's plenty of phones even now that have metal frames and plastic backs, which I would honestly prefer having compared to glass because it doesn't shatter, it's lighter, it's more durable. And you could remove this. This is the very last Samsung flagship phone that had a removable back on it. And just what an absolute send-off this phone was for that era of Samsung, because it's just amazing in nearly every single way. It has a 1440p display. It's just a nice vivid OLED. I was testing it out for my Galaxy Note Edge video, which by the way, click here to check out. It's on my main channel. You're actually on my second channel right now. They removed the USB 3 micro USB port on the bottom and went back to a USB 2 one, which honestly was a good choice. That port was just absolutely ginormous and massive, and yeah, no one really used it. It was good for data transfer, but it was very niche. The phone added the heart rate sensor from the Galaxy S5. It also added a fingerprint scanner from the Galaxy S5. It added optical image stabilization to the camera, which really helps. And it even added floating app support, so you can just have apps running in Windows like an actual real computer, which was insanely cool. Actually, I still really want that on my Google Pixel. Please, Google. Please, you added this to the Pixel tablet. Add it to your damn phones. Like I said, when I was using this phone for my Galaxy Note Edge video, I was just absolutely taken aback by how incredible this phone looks and feels. The display, the frame, just everything about it. It's perfect. You can remove the back and swap out the battery, has an IR blaster, it has everything. It has a headphone jack. There's nothing missing from this phone. It is just the ultimate removable back Samsung. There's just nothing bad about this phone. Of course this phone will go right up into the S tier and sit there nice and comfortably, but I'm actually going to bring this phone all the way over to here. The top of the S tier? Does it go above or below the Galaxy S9? You know what? I am gonna put the Note 4 above the S9 because the Note 4 is just, it's the ultimate Samsung. There's nothing missing on this. It's a different era of phones where you could just rip off the back and swap out your battery. There's no features missing on this phone at all. Every Galaxy Note from this point on would remove features and would never get feature parity to this phone ever again. So I feel like it belongs at the very top of the S tier. Time for y'all to move down. There we go. Make way for the Galaxy Note 4. Well, that was a pretty decent phone, but can Samsung keep this up with the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge? That's right, in 2014, Samsung didn't release just one Galaxy Note phone, they released a second one. Psst, sir, a second Galaxy Note phone has hit the market. Oh. Ah yes, the Samsung Galaxy Note Edge. I've made a video about this on my main channel, check it out up here. This is Samsung at their prime risk-taking era. This is Samsung at their throwing shit at the wall to see what sticks era, because this is just a weird and wacky phone. This phone is essentially a Galaxy Note 4, but with one side of the screen curved. Kinda like the Galaxy S6 Edge, but it's only one side of the screen. This side of the screen is flat, this side of the screen's curved, it's asymmetrical, it's weird. But this phone would prove to be very influential because this is quite literally the phone that started the curved screen movement, for better or for worse. But man was it ever gimmicky on this phone. The software solutions they had for the Edge were just, yeah, they were gimmicks. Full on just gimmicks. Samsung was clearly trying to make it a feature rather than playing into its aesthetics. In fact, it was really curved, like more curved than it was on the Galaxy S6 era phones or really any of their other phones. It was very, very curved. So much so that they couldn't even put the power button here. The power button moved to the top of the phone, which was just a horrible placement on a phone this big. Like, imagine if they did that today. Hold on, let me turn on my phone. Ah, there we go. Like, come on man. They could have put it on the other side like they did in the S20, but it was 2014 and that was, I don't know. It still had a removable back so you could swap out the battery. The battery was smaller because of the curved screen, yeah. I don't know, it's basically just a slightly worse Galaxy Note 4 with a curved screen. It's a very weird phone. I'm glad Samsung made it because it's very interesting. Again, I made a video about it, go watch it. I go into a lot more detail about this phone in that video, so I'm not going to go too deep into this phone here, but man, is this phone just ever weird. I don't think this phone is S tier, I think this phone is A tier, but where in the A tier do we put it? I'm seeing a pretty good spot here. Why don't we put it above the Galaxy S10 5G? I think that might be a good spot for it. The S10 5G innovated 5G onto the market, but man, 5G kinda sucks. But the Galaxy Note Edge introduced curved edges of screens, which are slightly more cool, but damn, curved edges kinda suck. Hey, maybe these two phones have something in common. I don't know. Wow, Samsung is on an absolute streak here with the Note series. Can they keep it up? Well, let's find out with the Samsung Galaxy Note 5. The Samsung Galaxy Note 5 was essentially a big version of the Galaxy S6, but with an S Pen. Unfortunately, unlike the previous models, that's not exactly a good thing because the Galaxy S6 was a very flawed but beautiful smartphone. The Galaxy S5 inherited all of the beautiful looks of the Galaxy S6. The full bare metal frame, the glass back. This phone looked nice. It didn't have the curved edges though, which is weird because the Galaxy Note series had the Note Edge and the Galaxy S6 had the curved edges but not the Note 5. What? I really don't know why they didn't at least do a Note 5 Edge, But yeah, because it's a big S6, it inherits a lot of the problems of the S6. It removed the micro SD card slot. It didn't have any water resistance. It had a smaller battery than the Galaxy Note 4, and also, the biggest flaw of it all, the glass was sealed on the back, so you couldn't swap out the battery. Yep, with the S6 and the Galaxy Note 5, Samsung switched to a glass back, and that sealed the back of the phones in, meaning you couldn't open them up anymore. But to add insult to injury, they made the battery smaller and the phone's not water resistant, which is the whole reason why you would go as far as to sealing the back off. They also removed the IR blaster from the top. The Galaxy S6 had that, this doesn't, which kinda sucks. But it wasn't all bad news, because the Galaxy Note 5 had wireless charging. Good feature. And also, this is the Note that introduced the screen off writing memo thing, where you can just grab your Galaxy Note, pull out the S Pen and just start writing on the lock screen, and then save it and then put it back in your pocket. I've always loved that feature, so this is the phone that added it. Pretty good. Oh, but speaking of the S Pen, they've actually redesigned the S Pen compared to the older models. See, these older models, it would actually just slot in without any clickiness, so it was a pretty basic mechanism. On the Note 5, they would switch to the design that we still use to this very day, where you essentially would click this part here, it pops out, and then you use that to pull the S Pen out, like so. But the Galaxy Note 5 had one fatal flaw with the S Pen. The fact that if you then went to put the S Pen in the wrong way, it would get stuck permanently. You would have to tear down the phone to get it out and basically break it. Yeah, a bit of a design flaw in this model. Every Galaxy Note afterwards would then, not let you do that. Samsung learnt their lesson that generation. Overall, the Galaxy Note 5 is a very flawed phone. It's a very nice phone, don't get me wrong. It's a very beautiful phone too, but it just kinda sucks in several ways compared to the Galaxy Note 4. Therefore, there's only one place I can put the Samsung Galaxy Note 5, and that is right next to the Samsung Galaxy S6 in the D tier. The C tier essentially means that it was a mid-boring upgrade, it didn't really do anything, while the D tier means that it was actively worse than the previous model, and I think the Note 5 was actively worse in many ways than the Galaxy Note 4. It's a prettier and better built looking phone, but man, it kinda sucks compared to the Note 4. Therefore, I feel it deserves a D placement alongside the Galaxy S6. Well, that was a bit of a misstep for Samsung. Maybe Samsung can recover from this blunder with the next model, the Samsung Galaxy Note 7. Oh no. With the Samsung Galaxy Note 7, they skipped the Galaxy Note 6 and bringing the numbers up to line with the Galaxy S series, which made a lot of sense. It was kind of ridiculous having the numbers be one off like that. And it also had the added benefit of bringing it up to lucky number 7. Yeah, the Galaxy Note 7 went right off with a bang, being a much improved Galaxy Note 5. It brought the curved edges from the Galaxy S6 and S7 to the Note series, finally, first time since the Note Edge, but this time done properly. They brought back the SD card slot. Please, Samsung, bring it back on your new models. There's no reason to get rid of it, except for you and your corporate greed, of course. They also introduced the iris scanner to the Galaxy line, which I personally didn't like the iris scanner. It always felt like it was blasting out your eyeballs, but a lot of people liked it, so yeah, better to add a feature than remove one, I guess. Samsung. The phone was water resistant, which the Note 5 should have been. They prevented you from putting the S Pen in backwards, which was probably a really good move on their end. Ah yes, how could I forget? This was the first Samsung phone with USB Type-C. Yes, please. That also brought fast charging with it, so yeah, just good moves all around. And the battery in this phone as well was absolutely huge. It was a 3,500 mAh battery. But you and I both know that there is a massive elephant in the room that I have yet to bring up with this phone yet. See, the Galaxy Note 7 was an amazing phone, one of Samsung's best phones they ever made. This phone was such a banger that, well, it was a banger. It blew up. Ah yes, the Galaxy Note 7 fiasco. I covered all of this in my Galaxy Note 7 video, do check it out. There's a lot of videos I'm plugging here today. Yeah, Samsung kinda stuffed up with the battery on this phone. They didn't give the battery any breathing room to expand, so when it did, parts of it would get punctured, the layers weren't made correctly, it just caused the thing to blow up. So Samsung recalled those models and then introduced the green battery models, which fixed everything. No, it didn't. The same thing happened again with those models. And once that happened, Samsung had to recall all of these phones. The Galaxy Note 7 was a commercial failure. Which is a shame because the Galaxy Note 7 is an amazing smartphone, one of the best Samsung ever made. It just has the potential to kill you. So I can't put it in S tier because it can kill you. This is the dilemma. Where do you put a phone that is one of Samsung's best, but also has the potential to kill you? In my opinion, there's only one place this phone can go, and unfortunately, it has to be the F tier. I'm sorry, but this phone's absolutely amazing, but it blew up. It blew up twice. We can't ignore this fact, and we can't let Samsung ignore this fact, because this is such a health and safety issue for their customers that we really hope that no companies repeat this ever again. And it really does make sense. This phone was a failure. It failed. It got recalled. It was a failure. Well, that's a shame, but that's okay, because there's one more chance for the Galaxy Note 7 to redeem itself. And that's because 1 year later, in 2017, Samsung introduced the Samsung Galaxy Note Fan Edition, aka the Galaxy Note FE. This phone clearly was only for the Samsung fans. Only fans? This phone was basically identical to the Galaxy Note 7 in every single way, except for the fact that it had a smaller 3200 mAh battery. So the battery life wasn't really fantastic on this device, but everything else was basically untouched from the Galaxy Note 7. It also got one more year of software update, going all the way up to One UI, which is crazy. This really proves that the Galaxy S7 could have gotten One UI, but Samsung just chose not to, because fuck you, I guess. Especially in this era, Samsung loved only giving their phones 2 years of software updates. But this phone launched with whatever came with the Galaxy S8, so yeah, it technically still only got 2 years of software updates, but it lasted a little bit longer. It's probably one of the best Samsung phones with a home button ever made. And because the Galaxy Note FE exists, you can take this battery and put it into the Galaxy Note 7 to make it safe, so that's handy, I guess. There's definitely a nice active community for these phones. You can mod these phones to go into even higher versions of Android, which is cool, but I feel like this phone should go into the bottom of the S tier, maybe. I mean, it's a really good phone. That being said though, it came out in 2017, and to say the smartphone landscape changed completely between 2016 and 2017 in a matter of only 1 year is an understatement. The smartphone landscape was not the same. It was completely and utterly different in that 1 year. So screw it, this phone's gonna go at the top of A tier, which is funny because there's no other year where we saw such a massive improvement on smartphones where this would have been put so low, but because 2017 was a huge year for phones, this was still a little bit outdated, but still an absolutely amazing smartphone. It shouldn't have existed. Funnily enough, this whole situation influenced some future phones because the FE line still continues to this day. I still find it so weird that the heritage of this line goes back to explosions. Like literally one of Samsung's biggest disasters ever, so go figure, I guess. Well, the Galaxy Note series is on kinda shaky ground now, isn't it? We've had a disappointing model, followed by a model that was a commercial failure, followed by a re-release of said commercial failure. Can Samsung bring this back with the Samsung Galaxy Note 8? The Galaxy Note 8 was essentially a big Galaxy S8, and it inherits all of the goodies that the S8 had, such as the slimmer bezels. It removed the home button, but it had that capacitive home button, which was pretty cool. It added the Bixby button, which many people hate, but guys, you can remap it and get an extra button, which is sweet. I kind of wish phones had remappable buttons on them again. I mean, the iPhones do, but the Samsungs don't, which is kind of funny. It was the first ever Samsung phone with 2 cameras on the back. It had a telephoto and a normal camera. It was okay. Honestly, the telephotos on these dual smartphones at the time were pretty pointless. They didn't really become useful until ultra-wide came and then proper telephoto zooms were actually added. The battery on this phone though was only 3300 mAh, which was kind of a shame, but also the Galaxy Note 7 situation was still fresh on everyone's mind, and look, this quite literally is the follow-up to the Galaxy Note 7. They had to play it safe. It would be stupid for them not to. The Galaxy Note 8 is a great phone. It's an amazing phone. It's just, like, I wanted one so badly when I was younger. The only thing holding this phone back was the battery. I would put the smartphone into the A tier, but don't kid yourself. This is an S tier phone. I wanted one when I was really young. After the Samsung Galaxy Note 8 released, Samsung decided to take the Galaxy Note 8 and cook. And cook they did. But Samsung didn't just create the follow-up to the Galaxy Note 8. They didn't just create a phone. They created a holy object. They created something so divine. They created something so perfect. What Samsung decided to make in 2018 was the Samsung Galaxy Note 9. This isn't just an amazing Samsung smartphone. This is the best Samsung smartphone ever released. No, not even that. It may as well be one of the best ever smartphones released. Name me a better smartphone. I'll wait. But what made the Galaxy Note 9 so good? Well, it was a Galaxy Note 8 with a better battery. Actually, a really good battery. It went up to a 4,000 mAh battery, which was such a massive generational step up from the 3,300 and the Note 8. Samsung finally moved past the Galaxy Note 7 era. They upgraded the speakers. The Galaxy Note 8 and the S8 and all the previous phones only had one speaker on the bottom here, which you could very easily block. The Galaxy Note 9 finally added some dual speakers, that and the S9. The earpiece is now used as a second speaker, and man, this upgraded the audio significantly on these phones. It kept the dual aperture feature that the S9 introduced, which was nice, and it also kept the headphone jack, because by 2018 so many people were removing the headphone jack off of their phones, but the Note 9 kept it. They moved the fingerprint sensor from the side of the cameras to the bottom of the cameras, which helped out with a lot of ergonomics. And if you bought a blue model, you got a piss yellow S Pen. But gonna be real with you, I like the piss yellow S Pen. I think it's a nice contrast with the blue. But speaking of the S Pen, this is probably the biggest upgrade the S Pen ever got since it was first introduced. Because Samsung added some actual pretty nifty features to this little thing. They made it so you could use the button on here wirelessly, so you could prop your phone up somewhere, press the button, and it would take a photo for you. It was actually a pretty nice and cool feature. It was a very classic Samsung, just cool feature move. I don't know how to describe it. But yeah, there's pretty much absolutely no flaws with this smartphone. If you took a Galaxy Note 9 and only upgraded the processor in it, maybe gave it a 120Hz screen, I would straight up buy it brand new. I would spend that money and use it as my daily smartphone. Put a modern processor in there, put a Snapdragon 8 Elite whatever, put the latest version of Android on there, that would become my main smartphone. And I would never use anything else. Hell, I would even take the same cameras. This is a tough choice. Where do we put the Galaxy Note 9? Let's not be silly. It's at the S tier, it's at the very top of the S tier, and everything is getting pushed down. The Galaxy Note 9 is the best Samsung smartphone ever made. It's one of the best smartphones ever made, and if you disagree with me, you are straight up wrong. I know I said that you're allowed to have your own opinion at the start of this video, but if you disagree, you are straight up wrong. There's no other way of putting it. Unless you're making an argument for the Galaxy Note 4, then maybe I'll hear you out, because that has a removable back, which is the one benefit that that phone has. Well, in 2019, Samsung was left with a massive task. How do you follow up such a perfect and wonderful phone like the Note 9? Well, they did it with the Samsung Galaxy Note 10. Does it live up to the hype? No, not at all. This year, Samsung released two Note phones, the Note 10 and the Note 10 Plus. They're very similar, so we're just gonna lump them together. The Galaxy Note 10 changed the design of the Galaxy Note a little bit. This top and bottom part were actually squared off, which is basically what set the blueprint for future Samsung Ultra smartphones until they got rid of it on the Galaxy S25 Ultra. I don't like that phone. This is the phone where I feel like Samsung's golden era came to a close, because the Galaxy S10 that released before this was amazing. But this phone, yeah, this marked the end of Samsung's golden era and the start of, well, their modern era. This was the phone that removed the headphone jack. See, This is a bigger deal on the Galaxy Note series because the whole point of the Galaxy Note series is that it was an ultra phone that did everything. Samsung was really losing their way with this series when they started removing things from it. The Galaxy Note 5 suffered for it, and the Galaxy Note 10 really set the stage for future models to come. So it removed the headphone jack, it removed the Bixby button, it removed the heart rate sensor, so that all kinda sucks. Thanks, Samsung. They moved from a fingerprint scanner on the rear to an under-screen ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. They at least got that right from the start. Good on you guys. They moved all of the buttons on this phone to the left side. I don't know why they did that, but they did. This is also the first Samsung smartphone in a very long time to move the cameras from the center to this top corner, making it look a lot like an iPhone XS. You can very much tell in future models is very iPhone inspired. Also, don't come at me with that argument saying that this allows for better photos. The Google Pixel line exists and you are wrong. The display still had curved edges. This is when curved edges were starting to get a bit cringe. Also, the screen was only 60 Hz. And by 2019 that was becoming very cringe. Apparently this phone added 45-watt charging. I didn't even know that up until very recently, and I'm very surprised. Someone please fact check that. If it did, then that's genuinely impressive even today, because the Galaxy S25 Ultra still is at 45 watts. So yeah, Samsung really started to lose their identity with starting from this smartphone all the way up to today. But hey, at least the colors were absolute god tier on this phone, like that psychedelic rainbow color. Please bring that back. Smartphone colors nowadays are insanely boring, so I kind of wish smartphone makers would do this kind of stuff again. But they don't have the balls because they're fucking pussies. As for the Note 10, it was one of the first times they introduced a small Galaxy Note, which is actually kind of good because all these phones have been massive the whole time. That was the whole point of the Note. Big note-taking phone, so it's finally good to get a small model. It had a 1080p display instead of 1440p, which is good. I still think 1440p screens on phones are basically useless. They literally have it set to 1080p out of the box anyway. They know you're not going to use it and it just drains your battery life. Oh god. This is tough. This is really tough. This is probably going to be the most controversial and hardest placement in this video. The Note 10 is a very good phone. It's a really good phone. If you pick one up, you'll say, hey, this is a good phone. I would know because I own one. And I've made a video about it on my main channel. Man, I've made a video about everything. Let's walk through this tier list for a moment. This phone gives me a lot of S20 vibes, where it removed a bunch of features from the previous model and really brought in the bland era of Samsung. Let's take a look at the Note 10 and ask ourselves, what did this phone add? It didn't add much, let's be real. Okay, it added some stuff, you know, the under-screen fingerprint scanner, the 45-watt charging, screen still 60 Hz, so it didn't add that, but it took away so much. It took away so much of what made the Galaxy Note the Galaxy Note, and brought on Samsung's current malaise era that they seem to be loving at the moment. Overall, I would say this phone is like an A tier phone, but as a Samsung Galaxy, as a Samsung Note. The C tier is meant to be reserved for boring upgrades, but I think the Note 10 might be a C tier contender. I don't like this placement. Is the Note 10 really better than the Note 5? Actually, who am I kidding? The Note 5 is a controversial placement in D tier. Okay, screw it. The Note 10 is going into the D tier because it removed so much, just like the Note 5. But let's be real, I'm never gonna forgive the removal of the headphone jack. The Note 10 goes in the D tier, along with the Note 5. Next up, we have the Galaxy Note 10 Lite. What the hell is this thing? This phone released in early 2020 alongside the Galaxy S10 Lite, which will also be in this tier list. This phone is ugly. This is the ugliest thing I've ever seen. It looks like a Galaxy A series phone from the time. This is the only time Samsung made a budget Galaxy Note phone, which, Okay, now that I put it like that, this phone is kind of compelling. Giving the S Pen to users for a cheaper price, I can kind of get behind that. The back is made of plastic, which I don't mind, although this looks like really crappy plastic, let's be real. Samsung would pull off some plastic back smartphones and make them look really nice in the future, but this one does not look good. It was a flat display, which was a welcome change. It was 1080p, which is completely fine. We don't need 1440p on phones. There was no water resistance. It went down to an optical fingerprint sensor, which fair enough, it's a budget phone, it's, you know, that's to be expected. But it also added, it added back the headphone jack? This phone has a headphone jack. Huh. I was honestly ready to grill the smartphone and write it off as being stupid, but honestly, a budget Galaxy Note is something we could absolutely use today. And also it brought back the headphone jack. Based? It's an ugly little thing, but I think this phone could actually go into the B tier. Let's put it in the B tier. I kinda like this phone actually. Okay, so the Galaxy Note series has gotten a little weird, but it's not gonna let up anytime soon with the Galaxy Note 20. Not to be confused with the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, because let me tell you, these two phones are not the same. These are not the same phones at all. Let's start off with the Note 20. This phone is an absolutely horrible value. When it was released, this phone was $1,000 US. It was right up there with the top of the top flagship models. And what do? You get essentially a Galaxy S20 FE, but with an S Pen for like $300 more. Sure, this predated the S20 FE, but still. It has a plastic back, it has no micro SD card slot, it has significantly worse cameras than the Note 20 Ultra. It had a 1080p flat screen, which is nice, but it was 60 Hz. 60 Hz for $1,000 in 2020. This phone sucks. It absolutely sucks. I don't think I'm gonna say much else except for the fact that I gotta decide if this phone's a D or an E tier placement. Look, if the price was lower, this phone would be perfectly fine. If it was much, much lower. This phone is essentially a Galaxy S20 FE, but with an S Pen for much more money. I don't think it's E tier levels of egregious. I think we're going to put this into the D tier, but at the very bottom of the D tier. That leaves us finally to the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, the final Galaxy Note phone. By this time, the Note series was getting very confusing. It wasn't the do-it-all phone anymore, it was essentially just an alternative Galaxy Ultra phone, but with an S Pen. But in general, I feel like this is what the Galaxy S20 Ultra should have been. First of all, the design looks nice. I love the design of the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. I wanted one. By the way, if you're someone who hates large camera bumps on phones, like gargantuan camera bumps on phones, this is the phone to blame. This is one of the first phones that really had a ludicrously sized camera bump on it. I remember seeing this phone and just remembering about how absolutely absurd it was. They didn't even try to make it small on this thing. They just went and embraced it and put the largest camera bump they could on this thing, and it's not become smaller ever since. Instead of having the 100x zoom that the Galaxy S20 Ultra had, this thing had a 50x telephoto zoom. It also didn't have the stupid text on the back that the S20 Ultra had. The 50x zoom at this time was definitely a lot better because, well, the processing for the photos, it just didn't look good on the 100x on the S20 Ultra because that was a first gen thing. This, at least at 50x, was a lot more practical and looked a lot better. Also, this phone added a laser autofocus to fix the horrible focusing issues from the S20 Ultra, so that's pretty good at least. This is also the first ever Samsung that had a soft touch matte glass, which is lovely. I've always loved how these felt and look. This phone also introduced high refresh rates. You can get 120 Hz on this display, but only at 1080p. You can't do it at 1440p, but I don't care because I'm never going to use 1440p in my life. You cannot make me. It's very square, it's very boxy and very square. And this would basically set the blueprint for the Ultra series when this was merged into the mainline Galaxy S phones. Because the Galaxy S22 Ultra was basically just an updated Galaxy Note 20 Ultra. Which is good because this was a pretty good phone. I think this phone could go right next to its younger brother, the Galaxy S22 Ultra, because they're essentially the same phone, just 2 years apart and slightly updated. and both of these are good phones. And after the Galaxy Note 20 Ultra, the Note series was merged into the Galaxy S Ultra series, and yeah, the S22 Ultra revived the S Pen, brought it back, and it's been going strong ever since, except for the S25 Ultra. That phone is a downgrade. But we're not done. Remember our loose connections between the FE and the Note 10 Lite? That's right, we've got the S10 Lite and the FE series to do, because I didn't put these in the last video because that video was insanely long. This video is also going to be insanely long, but we're adding them onto the Galaxy Note video because there's less notes to cover, therefore I can put a few more phones in here. Let's begin with the Samsung Galaxy S10 Lite. What is the point of this phone? No, really, why does this thing exist? First things first, it's ugly. This thing is ugly. It looks like an S20, but worse in every way. The camera bump's been elongated to add this stupid text to the back. It looks like complete shit. It's made of plastic, it's a 1080p 60Hz display. Oh, would you look at that? It's an S10 with no headphone jack and no wireless charging? Are you serious? No wireless charging on a Galaxy S10 model. Why? It had an optical fingerprint scanner because of course it did. It had 3 cameras on there, one of them being an awful macro lens. What in the Galaxy A series is this thing? Why does this model exist? The Galaxy S10e fit the spot perfectly of a budget S10 model. This thing's complete garbage. This phone is just complete and utter garbage. I'm gonna put this right into the E tier below the S20 Ultra. This phone sucks. I don't want to ever look at a Galaxy S10 Lite again. Ah yes, the Samsung Galaxy S20 FE. This is the only phone I ever bought brand new. And this is also the phone that I started Frogfaduck with. The early videos are filmed with this phone. So I have a lot of experience with this thing. Me personally, I liked it, but I had a few gripes with it, but let's just talk about the phone itself. This phone was insanely impactful at launch. It launched at a really good price compared to the other models that were around at the time. The S20 series was insanely overpriced, so this was a much needed breath of fresh air. This phone is basically just a Galaxy S20, but with a matte plastic back, which is fine because I'd prefer plastic than glass, honestly. It had a 1080p 120Hz display, nice. It was a flat display, very good. The bezels were a bit shitty, but that's fine. It had wireless charging, unlike this absolute turd that's sitting next to it. It had an optical fingerprint scanner, which was a little bit of a bummer. One thing I didn't like about this phone is that the hole punch camera in the front had a silver ring inside of it. Like, Samsung purposely put that in to make this phone look cheaper. And they also disabled certain animations in the phone's settings, like an A series, to make the phone feel like crap. For example, the animation going from your always on display to the lock screen was disabled. It's just a flag that they could have enabled deep in the system, but they didn't, to make this phone feel like crap, which is kind of what turned me away from Samsung. If you want to know why I'm maining a Google Pixel phone today, this phone is why. People really like this phone though, but I'm not putting it in S tier. This phone was a really good value when it launched, but I'm not putting it anything higher than the bottom of the A tier. Again, I've had experience with this phone. I daily drove it for about 2 years, and I think that's a good spot for it. Next up, we have the Galaxy S21 FE. This phone launched a bit late in January of 2022, right before the Galaxy S22 series launched. Like, right before. It wasn't as special as the S20 FE because there was more competition at this price range at the time. It had a plastic back, of course. The bezels were definitely slimmer than the S20 FE. Oh, it also had no charger in the box, thanks Apple. And I also owned one of these, very briefly. I bought one of these really cheap and flipped it on Facebook Marketplace, so yeah. It's a slightly improved Galaxy S20 FE, but it's really nothing special. Also, because it launched so late, you could get a Galaxy S21 normal for about the same price. So the value proposition of this phone kind of dropped to zero basically as soon as it launched, so there's not really much point to get it. Ah, delightfully boring. That sounds like a C tier placement to me. Next up, we have the Samsung Galaxy S22 FE. Wait, no, the S23 FE. Yeah, I don't really know what happened here, but the S23 FE, guys. Now, instead of this phone being a cut down flagship model, this phone seems to be an up-spec'd budget model, because you look at the S21 FE and the S23 FE, and the S23 FE has actually got worse bezels than the S21 FE, and a more plain design. Why? Because the S23 FE is basically just a Galaxy A55 or A54, but with a flagship processor in it. And also, they finally moved to having glass on the Galaxy FE series compared to the plastic here. It was a glossy glass, so the design looked pretty cheap, but I mean, it's a budget model, it makes sense. Basically, compared to a Galaxy A55, it has a better processor, wireless charging, and not much more. It's interesting because it's better in some ways than the S21 FE and also worse in some ways than the Galaxy S21 FE. I'm going to put this above the Galaxy S21 FE. It's a pretty alright value compared to the S20, S23, there's so many numbers, man, just, yeah, C tier placement, why not? Some people would place this higher because of the value alone, but also, I don't care. And finally, the Galaxy S24 FE. It's very squared off, just like the S24 series, because everyone's got to copy Apple. It has matte glass on the back instead of glossy, so it's more like the flagship phones. It's actually a bigger phone, it's a 6.7 inch phone compared to 6.4. It has slightly thinner bezels, a brighter screen, and that's about it. But I'd say probably the biggest upgrade between these two phones is the fact that the S24 FE gets 7 years of software updates, which is kinda based, and the S23 FE only gets 4. It also looks really similar to the flagship model as well, so I would say definitely the 7 years alone is enough to kind of put it up in the B tier, and it's enough of an improvement. It's very bland, very boring, it's only just barely in B. B for barely, barely in B. That is the Samsung Galaxy tier list. This is like the ultimate Samsung Galaxy tier list, and I don't want to ever look at one of these phones again, especially the S10 Lite. Fuck this phone.